So everyone, now that we have understood what cognition is, what cognitive development means, and who Jean Piaget was, the next question naturally arises is, how did Piaget explain cognitive development? So according to Piaget, children do not learn simply because someone teaches them. Instead, they actively build their own understanding by interacting with the environment. To explain this process, Piaget proposed a few fundamental assumptions and some key concepts that work together to describe how thinking develops. Before we move to the four stages of cognitive development, it is essential to understand these concepts because they form the foundation of Piaget's entire theory. And if you understand these concepts well, the stages will become much easier to understand. Let us first understand the basic assumptions of Piaget theory. The first assumption is that children are active learners. Piaget strongly believes that children are not empty vessels waiting to be filled with knowledge. They are naturally curious. They constantly observe, touch, ask questions, experiment, and try to understand everything around them. Think about a 1-year-old child. The child pick up every object, shake it, throw it, taste it, and observe what happens. Parents often become worried and say, why is my child throwing everything? But according to Piaget, the children is not being naughty. The child is actually learning. The child is discovering questions like, what happens if I throw this object? Will it always fall? Does it make the same sound every time? These simple actions are actually scientific experiments conducted by the child. So remember this important statement that children do not simply receive knowledge, they actively construct it. This idea is known as constructivism, and it is one of the most influential educational philosophies even today. The second assumption is that knowledge is constructed, not transmitted. Imagine you are teaching the child a concept of plants in a classroom. If students simply memorize the definition that plants are living organisms that prepare their own food through photosynthesis, have they really understood the concept? Not necessarily. Real learning happens when students observe real plant, compare different leaves, identify roots and stem, water the plants, and notice that growth over time. Knowledge become meaningful only when learner connect a new experience with what they already know. Therefore, Piaget believed that learning is an active process of constructing meaning. The third assumption is that cognitive development occurs in stages. Piaget observed that children's thinking develop in a fixed sequence. Every child passes through the same stage. Some children may develop slightly earlier or later than others, but the order never changes. For example, no child can directly begin abstract thinking without first passing through concrete thinking. Development follows a natural progression, just as a building cannot have the third floor without first constructing the foundation and second floor. Cognitive development also follows a systematic sequence. The fourth assumption is that development comes before learning. This is one of Piaget's most important educational idea. He believed that before a child can understand certain concepts, the child brain first must reach the required level of development. For example, suppose I ask a 4-year-old child to solve algebraic equation. Can the child do it? No. Does it mean the child is unintelligent? Absolutely not. It simply means the child has not reached the stage of cognitive development required for abstract reasoning. As teacher, this teaches us a valuable lesson. Teaching should always match the developmental level of learner. If teaching is too advanced, student become confused. If it is too easy, student become bored. Good teaching always begin from the learner's level. Now let us move to the first key concept introduced by Piaget, that is schema. The word schema may sound difficult initially, but once you understand it, you will realize it is actually very simple. Imagine your brain as a huge library. Inside this library, there are thousands of shelves. Each shelf store information related to one topic. There is one shelf for animals, other for fruits, other for family, for school, for festivals. Similarly, according to Piaget, our brain organizes knowledge into mental structures called schemas. A schema is a mental framework that helps us organize and interpret information. Whenever we experience something new, our brain immediately asks, do I really know something similar? If yes, the new information is connected with the existing schema. Let me explain with an example. Suppose a small child has only seen dogs. The child brain develop a schema. Dog is equal to 4 legs plus tail plus fur plus animal. One day the child visit a village and sees a cow for the first time. Immediately the child say, look, dog. Is the child wrong? Technically, yes, but psychologically the child is using the only schema available. The child is trying to understand something using previous knowledge. This is exactly how learning begins. Schemas are not permanent, they continuously grow, change, and become more sophisticated throughout life. Every new experience modify our schemas. Even adults continue developing new schema every day. Clear? Okay, the next concept is organization. Piaget believed that human brain naturally like orders. Our mind does not store information randomly. Instead, it organizes knowledge into meaningful categories. For example, imagine a child learn separately about apple, banana, orange, mango. Initially, these are four independent pieces of information. Gradually, the child realized something interesting. All these objects are sweet, all grow on tree, all can be eaten. So the child create a broader category called fruits. This process is called organization. Similarly, dog, cat, cow, horse, goat all become organized into one larger category called animal. Organization make thinking faster and more efficient. Imagine if every single child has to be remembered separately without forming categories, learning would become impossible. So organization help us simplify the world around us. Now we come to one of the most important concept in Piaget's theory, that is adaptation. Adaptation simply means adjusting ourselves to new situation. Whenever we encounter new experience, our brain tries to understand them. Sometimes the new experiences easily fit our previous knowledge. Sometimes it does not. In both situations, our thinking changes. This adjustment of thinking is called adaptation. According to Piaget, adaptation takes place through two important processes, that is assimilation and accommodation. These two processes work together throughout life. Without adaptation, learning cannot occur. Let us first understand assimilation. Assimilation means fitting new information into an existing schema. Think of it like placing a new file into an already existing folder on your computer. No new folder is created, only the information is added. Let us again consider the dog example. The child believes every four-legged animal is a dog. Now the child sees a cow. Instead of creating a new category, the child says dog. Why? Because the child is trying to fit the new experience into the existing schema. This is assimilation. Another classroom example, suppose a child already know how to add numbers. When subtraction is introduced, the child initially tries solving subtraction exactly like addition. The child is using existing mathematical knowledge to understand a new concept. Again, this is assimilation. Assimilation makes learning easier because we always begin with what we already know. But what happens when existing knowledge is not enough? This is where accommodation begins. Accommodation means changing an existing schema or creating a completely new schema to understand new information. Continuing with our previous knowledge, the parent explained this is not a dog, it is a cow. Now the child realized that not every four-legged animal is a dog. The child created a new category called cow. The original schema has been modified. This process is called accommodation. Accommodation represents real cognitive growth because it requires changing previous thinking. Many times in education, students hold misconception. For example, some students think all metals are magnetic. Later, they learn that aluminium, copper, and gold are metal but are not magnetic. Their previous schema changes. This is accommodation. As teachers, our responsibility is not only to provide information but also to help students accommodate new ideas whenever necessary. Finally, we come to the concept that Piaget considered the driving force of cognitive development, that is equilibration. Piaget believed that every human being naturally wants mental balance. Whenever new information fits existing knowledge, everything feels comfortable. But whenever something unexpected happens, confusion rises. This confusion is called disequilibrium. Imagine a child believes every flying creature is a bird. Then one day the child sees a butterfly. The child confidently says bird. The teacher gently corrects, no, this is a butterfly. Immediately confusion appears. The child begins thinking, if butterflies are not bird, then what are they? This confusion motivates learning. The child creates a new schema for insects. Now the new understanding develops, mental balance returns. This balance between assimilation and accommodation is called equilibration. Piaget believed that cognitive development continues because child continuously move through this cycle of existing knowledge, new experience, confusion, learning, new understanding, balance. This cycle repeats throughout life. Whether we are a children, university student, teacher, or researcher, we continue learning in exactly the same way. So today we have understood the heart of Piaget's theory. We learned that children are active learners who construct knowledge through interaction with the environment. We explored Piaget's basic assumption and then carefully examined the six concepts, that is schema, organization, adaptation, assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. These concepts explain how learning actually takes place and provide the theoretical foundation for understanding the four stages of cognitive development. In our next lecture, we will begin with the sensory motor stage, where we will study how infant progress from simple reflexes to purposeful thinking, develop object prominence, and gradually begin to experience or represent the world mentally. Understanding this first stage will help us appreciate how cognitive development unfolds from the very beginning of the life.